Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Mowing After Dark here on the College Football Mafia Network. I am joined tonight by my friend Daniel Gygax, who just returned from Vegas, put down some big money bets on the West Virginia Mountaineers. How are you doing today, Daniel?
All $30, 10 on the over-under, 10 for WVU to win the Big 12 championship, and 10 for WVU to win the national championship. That's 200 to 1, by the way, if I hit that sucker.
Now, you would have to go to Las Vegas to cash those in, though, right?
Yeah, because it was at the MGM Grand, and it was a hard ticket, yes.
Okay. I apologize I didn't give everybody a heads up I was doing a show tonight, because I wasn't planning on doing a show tonight. I got home at 7:30 and saw that Nate was not doing a show tonight. I was under the impression he was doing a show tonight, and I decided that, I'd like to have us a little show up in here before Friday, get a little live stream in, and talk to everybody. So we're going to be talking a little bit about some Big Ten realignment tonight, some Big Ten private equity, some future planning. No Mad Dog 2020 tonight. Not tonight. Stay tuned, guys. That will happen tentatively July 11th.
Oh, I'm sorry, 11th.
7/11. That is when we tentatively are going to do the Mad Dog 2020 stream.
God, that stuff is awful. I
remember it from Daniel school. Doesn't want to. Daniel, you won't be joining us, I'm sure.
I remember it from high school, how awful it was.
Well, and we talked about this. It's apparently gotten at least weaker since.
Yeah, because it was 20% alcohol in a 20-ounce bottle.
Yeah, now it's 13%. So
that's alcohol. They don't want to pay the alcohol excise tax on it. I know a lot of winemakers close to me. So
yeah, so low-end fortified wine. But we're going to be talking about Big Ten realignment, future members, future alliances, future game plans. We're going to talk a little bit about some international opportunities. So we're going to get right into it here tonight. I guess Greg did a show earlier. I haven't seen Greg's show yet. So if some of this is duplicate, I apologize. I didn't know. But it's information I've got from people in Columbus, and then confirmed by another person out in Des Moines. So, and I trust that person. I trust both these people. I'll put it that way. So, lots of interesting things happening in realignment. If I could put it one way, I'm going to pull this up here. And if you're all fans of 1980s movies, like I know you should be, War Games with Tony Petiti. We're talking about War Games.
Shall we play a game?
And the only way not to lose is not to play. Or the only way to win is not to play. But they're going to play. They're playing War Games. And it's not just the Big Ten. And it's not just the SEC, guys. Shit could get weird. It could get really weird. Really weird. But we're going to focus on the Big Ten tonight. We'll wait till shit gets weird before we get into that. But yeah, Tony Petiti and the boys have been playing War Games. They've been taking a look at candidates. They've been pairing them up, pairing them off. Ranked choice voting. Certain schools like certain candidates. And they have their own reasons for doing that. Some schools want other candidates, but a lot of the power is in the block. There's a 3-team block with a lot of power because they acquiesced last time. Michigan and Wisconsin wanted Washington badly, and these schools acquiesced and allowed Oregon into the conference, who they did not want, in order to get Washington in. And part of the deal was that these schools were going to get a little more sway on the future candidates for Big Ten when it came time to expand. Now, I don't think there's no expansion that's going to happen right away. This is probably going to happen after private equity makes their pitch to the Big Ten. As I've told you last Friday, the private equity deal that the Big Ten is working on will likely be one of, if not the largest private equity deal in the history of sports, conference sports. It's going to be massive. It's going to be a long spanning one. The Big Ten is looking to develop a 20+ year relationship with private equity. And it's not just, they're not just doing it to get the cash infusion. They're doing it for other reasons. They're going to use private equity to stretch out their branding to international markets. They're going to use private equity to monetize areas where they're currently not monetizing. As much as you may not like it, there might be something out there that the Big Ten isn't monetizing that private equity is aware of, that private equity could get a foothold in, that private equity could make some bank on. And the Big Ten's going to trust private equity to do that. And I know they've had 3 or 4 presentations so far. I don't know how many are left. But I'd imagine the things that the private equity are pitching to the Big Ten are things like, this is where we think we can take you. This is what we've got in mind.
Do you see the Big Ten's doing the nationwide insurance Big Ten?
I think they're going to look at all opportunities.
Okay.
And I think that's going to upset some people. A lot of people say, hey, you can't tradition and it can't be, but yeah, I think you're going to see sponsorships that you haven't previously seen. I think you might end up seeing some colleges, which generally don't get involved. They don't let their brands be used in a commercial sense. You're probably going to see universities in the Big Ten be more lenient on that. That way that certain insurance commercials can air in certain markets with certain universities and certain athletes and everything that involves that. But private equity is not just about making money from them. They do want to make money with private equity. Don't get me wrong. We're talking a private equity deal that's probably $10+ billion. They do want to do that, but they also want to use private equity as a marketing tool. They want to market the Big Ten better. They want to market the Big Ten as a national conference because, let's face it, the Big Ten is now a national conference. It stretches from sea to shining sea. That being said, who are the candidates that are at the top of the list for some of the schools in the Big Ten? Number 1,
UNC.
This UNC, UVA, and that's all out there. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And they've wargamed that. What happens if UNC goes here? What happens if what if they come to us and say, we want to join you? What if Notre Dame gets off the fence and joins the Big Ten? This has all been wargamed out, guys. They know their next move based off of it's all been done. I assure you, very smart people with very varied opinions are putting their opinions out there and more or less saying, we'll tolerate this. We like this. We don't like this. We might be able to do some wheeling and dealing to make this happen. You need to have a majority of votes. But in reality, you need to have a unanimous vote. If somebody's especially not happy, they are going to let it be known, and the Big Ten doesn't want that out there. So you're going to have some sort of universal agreement on some of these things. And yes, Washington and Oregon get a vote on that. Even though they only get partial membership, they are a voting member of the Big Ten now. So their opinions will matter, as will USC and UCLA, because what I have been told, this is the most likely scenario as of today. As of June 26, 2025, the most likely scenario that these schools believe in the Big Ten is the University of Miami at number 19, Georgia Tech at number 20. We'll see from there. They believe the betting odds are still on UNC UVA to the SEC. They also believe Clemson and Florida State will get into the SEC. They believe the Big Ten, or at least these three schools in the Big Ten, have an eye on Miami and Georgia Tech. And I know there's going to be a lot of Florida State fans who are going to be asking me, oh, no, why Miami? Why? Miami, this plays into private equity. This plays into international deals. Miami is an international city. It opens it up for more international opportunities potentially. Also, lots of financial services in Miami that they can do business with. They like Miami. Georgia Tech, again, it's not because of Georgia Tech. A lot of it has to do with just where Georgia Tech sits. They sit in Atlanta, and population demographics show Atlanta going through the roof. And not just through the roof, but with good white-collar jobs. A lot of those are filled by Big Ten alumni.
My brother lives there.
That's right. You Big Ten alumni. Coke, a lot of big companies operating out of Atlanta. So it kind of fills three things for them. You get your academics. They're both AAU members. You get an athletic brand with Miami. Not so much Georgia Tech, but with Miami, you do get an athletic brand. Your television partners get 2 top 15 markets. Atlanta is expected to be a top 4 market within the next 5 years, I believe, is what they said. Miami is expected to be a top 10 market within that time, based on population growth. So you're basically adding a top 5 and a top 10 market by the time this all goes around. The other thing these three schools like in particular is pipeline. It is a recruiting pipeline. South Florida, Georgia have become huge recruiting pipelines, and it's not just for Ohio State anymore. A lot of these schools in the Big Ten are going down there and pitching themselves. Your Nebraskas are going down there and pitching themselves. It used to be that Nebraska would just go to Texas. Nebraska's not doing that anymore. They're going down to South Florida. They're going into the rural areas of Georgia where these football players are. Does this guarantee Georgia Tech and Miami are the next two? It does not. I am just telling you, as of this day, as of this day's date, the sources I'm hearing from believe that is the most likely scenario. Here's your caveat. Shit could get weird, guys. And I'm talking really weird. And some things you would never think of happening could happen. And I don't know how that's going to affect Georgia Tech and Miami. I don't know how that's going to affect what the SEC is trying to do. But, you know, the SEC has this gamed out too. They have their own plans on what they want to do. The Big Ten has their own plans. Steel Austin wants to know how weird. It's going to be weird.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird. It's going to be uncomfortable. There's going to be some weird family Christmases. Let's put it that way.
Atlanta's market number 7 right now.
Number 7 right now, but I think in the next 5 to 10 years, it's expected to go to number 4. And then I think Miami's number 12, right?
Hold on. I just looked that up a second ago, and I just closed it. Hold on.
It's either 12 or 17. I get my 7s and my deuces mixed up.
Miami is 18.
18 right now. Okay.
Yes.
But they do expect that to continue to grow.
Yes.
And get, I think, into a top 10 market. But
yes.
You know, it's good for the TV partners. TV partners would not be opposed to this. Would TV partners pay more for this? I don't know. But
And
I don't
also,
think
you
that they
got to
would.
think. Also, the easy part is Miami's private, so they don't have to deal with some board. And Georgia Tech, you think the University of Georgia is going to say no to them going into the Big Ten? No, they don't care. So
Yeah. Georgia's not going to. Georgia thinks they own the entire state of Georgia. They're not too worried about it.
they almost do.
I like Georgia Tech this year. They're a dark horse. I think they would be good. But those are what, and then there are other options. There are. Believe it or not, they've wargamed some really far out there options, guys. Stuff that would make Western Civics proud. If you guys remember who Western Civics is from PATC, some of the war game stuff they've come up with that they've gamed out, some of this game theory stuff they've done, it's out there. And I mean, like, it's way out there. Like, going to a parking lot at a Grateful Dead concert out there. That's what I'm talking about. It's some weird stuff. So, but there's other things that they're, potential. They've got plans where they take Florida State and Miami, where they take Clemson and Georgia Tech. They have plans where they take UVA and North Carolina and Duke. Duke's a long shot, though. I don't know that Duke's going to get in. There's certainly schools in the Big Ten that want Duke in, but I don't know that those schools are going to get their way. At least not on the current game theory that they're operating on. But that's what we're talking about. I mean, Miami, Georgia Tech, 19 and 20. I know it's probably not what Florida State fans want to hear, but I did a show about it a couple weeks back. Miami being a private school, Daniel mentioned it. That is appealing to one of the schools who might not be so pro-Miami would compromise because Miami is a private school and they don't have to deal with the state of Florida in politics. So Earl Carr's been a member for 23 months. Hey, my brother. Hey, Moen. How about my Cougars beating out Oregon for Lions? Congratulations. Anytime the Ducks get beaten recruiting, I am all for it. But I was not shocked. I was not shocked that an LDS kid would want to play for BYU. It makes the most sense in the world.
What shocked me is he did an official visit to Sac State.
He probably got paid for it.
Yeah, it's true. Sac State's a mess.
Sac State's been trying every promotional. It reminds me of you've ever seen the movie Semi-Pro with Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
It's just all Jackie Moon type of promotional stunts. So, congratulations though, Earl. I will give you the Cougar Sounder. The Cougars got some Lions. Let's say hello to some people. I have not been able to say hello to people yet, and I apologize for that. We'll start saying hello to some people. John Dry, Georgia Tech so soon. Right off the bat, I'll take a drink of my beer on that one. I apologize. I had a back injection today. I cannot drink.
No, those suck.
Because I had sedation. So they say, don't drink on sedation. I don't know. Although their sedation never sedates me. I had a full conversation with the anesthesiologist while it was going on. The Big Lubbock is second, but then reminds us really I am first. Yes, Big Lubbock is eternally first, regardless of when they join. I heard Tech is being considered for entry into the Big Ten. I'm sure it's on one of these game theories. Big Lubbock, I have no doubt it is on one of these game theories. I have heard some wild ones. Some really wild ones.
Here's the thing with Texas Tech. Yes, the Big Ten would like to get into Texas, but I don't know if Texas Tech. I don't know if they're going to take a Texas Tech. It's on their list of we'll take a look at them, but it's probably pretty low.
And like we say, the prevailing winds right now are saying the Big's going to expand with 2. The SEC, they think the SEC takes Virginia, North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State. But we'll see. Like I said, the Big Ten is also game theory. Florida State and Miami as travel partners. Clemson and Georgia Tech as travel partners. Adding Duke along with North Carolina and Virginia. The West Coast schools like Stanford and Cal have been game theoried, but they're way off the map right now. If I was going to put some money in Vegas, I'd put it on Stanford joining the Big Ten because I think those are pretty long odds at this point. They have upset a few people. Big Lubbock says, where's Numbskull? He will tell you UNC and UVA are not getting a Power 2 invite. Well, they may or not be. They may not be.
We don't know. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows, but they may not be, and I'll leave it at that. Timothy Green says, my opinion to the thumbnails, I don't think that Georgia Tech or Miami will ever do anything much as far as the Big Ten Conference goes. My reason for that is Ohio State and the team up north. I think the Big Ten is going to get a lot more parity in the coming years. The same way the Big Ten is kind of pulled even and a little bit ahead of the SEC. Some of these smaller schools in the Big Ten, they're catching up. Indiana last year, Illinois last year, 10 wins. Illinois is a dark horse candidate, I think, this year for the Big Ten championship. I don't sleep on Burt, man. Do not sleep on Burt.
And here's the thing, Miami, they're not afraid to spend money on players
No,
in Miami.
Clearly not.
No, I mean, go back 40 years of history of them cutting checks, but they're not afraid to spend money. Georgia Tech, they need more Southern representation in the conference, and that's going to get them locked down in the biggest city in the South.
Yes, it gets them into the jewel of the South, I think is what they called Atlanta at one point, the jewel of the South, and it gets them into Georgia for recruiting pipeline. That can also pull you into South Carolina. And that's great for some of these smaller Big Ten schools, too, that might not go. There's lots of schools that don't recruit 4 and 5 stars. They recruit 2 and 3 stars because that's what's available to them. So for a school like a Minnesota to go into a Georgia and tell a kid, hey, we got Georgia Tech on our schedule in Atlanta within the next 3 years, you'll get a chance to play. Your friends will be able to come over here and see you play. Without having to travel all the way up to Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second. I did these out of order. Caleb Ramirez, member for 3 months. Could they take Miami, Georgia Tech, Clemson, and Florida State? They could. It's been game theoried. But I'm just passing along what I heard was the most likely theory as of today. That game theory could change. Notre Dame tomorrow could say, okay, we want to join the Big Ten. Changes everything. But guess what? They've already game theoried out what happens if Notre Dame joins the Big Ten. Then who comes next, and next? It's almost like pre-planning for dominoes. You know how the dominoes are going to fall, so you know which way it's going. Hey, Moen, how are your Buckeyes looking? What's your prediction? My prediction is a Big Ten championship this year. I see them going into the playoffs this year. I think Penn State. I don't mean to upset the other. They're Nittany Lions. They're not Cougars. I don't look to upset Penn State, but as far as I know, they still don't have any decent receivers. They got 2 great running backs. They got a returning quarterback. But, I mean, if you watch them in that game against Notre Dame, it's futility. You watch them in the game early in the season against Ohio State. Now, they got some lucky calls and lucky breaks that stopped Ohio State from really piling it onto them. But they were having trouble at Ohio State, too. So I'm not sold on Penn State. I know they've got a lot of returning talent. I know they just brought in a new defensive coordinator that they think is going to be aces in year one. I don't see it. I just don't see it. So I think it comes down to in the Big Ten. I think it comes down to Ohio State. I like Illinois as a dark horse. If Michigan beats Texas, I would say look out for Michigan. Because if Michigan can beat Texas, they can go on a run. But I'm pulling for the Buckeyes. I think they're Big Ten champions next year. Although I did say a couple weeks ago, I think Clemson is my team for the national championship. I like Clemson.
You might have a problem with that. Guess who picked them too?
Oh, fudge. Did Greg pick them too?
Yeah, them in Texas in the national championship game. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Love you, Greg, but
man, you got to let me know these things before I pick. Timothy Green says, please, everyone that comes into the chat, hit that like button, subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you all very much. Yes, please. If this is your first time watching us, go ahead and give us a subscribe. Join the channel. Consider becoming a member. We try and drop some nuggets on realignment every time we get them and every time we're able to confirm them. So I hope you do consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you, Timothy Green, as always. You are my favorite Mountaineer named Timothy Green.
Another Boone County guy.
There you go. Skaven Yes says, hello, gentlemen. John Dry says, hey, y'all. Shonsky says, what's up, guys? Let me see you, Shonsky. Movie Time Blue says, would this be the June update? This would be one of them. There might be another update by Friday, guys. Lots of fluid stuff going on.
Things could go upside down June 30th.
Yeah, things can change. And shit can get weird.
Yeah.
Bob Swanger says, hey, what's up, everyone? Hey, Bob, I'm sorry I picked against Penn State, but seeing is believing, man. I got to see some receivers out there that can catch some balls.
Hey,
Ryan Willie.
Penn State could go to the wishbone and just run the heck out of it.
Well, it might work. Ryan Willie is in the chat. He says, on Wisconsin. Okay, appreciate that, Ryan. And then he left us a super chat that says, I hope you learned that you don't want to encounter an evil badger on Wisconsin. Utes out in California. I don't know that there are badgers in California.
There are not.
Yeah.
He's on an anniversary trip.
Well, unless he goes to the zoo and decides to climb in to hear that badger noise he loves so much. Although I think, Ryan, that he is not going to like that so much once he gets done downing a bottle of MD 2020 Blue Raspberry. I think he'll ask me to retire that sound at that point for, negative feelings. Those that push back on PIPE, how do you come up with the extra $20.5 million that goes up every year? That's a good point. A lot of these schools will be, again, and this isn't just the money they originally get from PE, but PE can do deals that makes the school money and the PE money. And that's a burden you take off of your schools. Your schools have less to worry about as far as marketing themselves when you get a private equity company that essentially operates as part of your marketing arm of your conference. And, we talked about it, international appeal. I was told that within the next 10 years, you will see a Big Ten conference game played overseas. And the two most likely destinations, UK, which would probably mean London, Australia being the second. They believe that there is a strong football market in Australia with all the Australia-style punters, more demand for Australia, for American football from Australians. The NFL is actually going to hold a game there in 2026. The Big Ten, the people in the Big Ten, also believe that Australia could be a burgeoning market for college football. And they want to make sure they get the Big Ten in there first. So the first international Big Ten game may actually end up being played in Australia, guys. The land down under.
Berkeley played a game there in, I want to say like 10-ish years ago. Somebody's going to correct me on the exact year. But Berkeley played a game in Australia. And this year's Farmageddon is being played in Dublin, Ireland.
Yeah.
K-State, Iowa State. So that's a Big 12 rivalry that is being played off campus in Dublin.
Yeah, the only issue is you're not going to see like the game. They're not going to move Michigan, Ohio State to. It's probably going to be like a Minnesota versus Illinois matchup in Australia or in London. But I mean, you're going to see possibility also of Toronto being another international potential game. But they think most likely UK, which would mean London, Australia. They really talked up, when I talked to them, they really talked up Australia. So they seem to think Australia is a new burgeoning market and they want to get into it. Mo, and this is why I really like watching your show, because I learned a lot. You guys are very smart and educated about college football, and I really appreciate the shows that you put on. Thank you, Timothy Green.
Thank you, Timothy Green.
I'm not one of the smart ones. I'm the funny, entertaining one, but I actually went to school with some people who know some people, which helped me out in the long run. It's all about networking. Joseph Kurlagon Jr. Some people thought I was crazy when I said Georgia Tech would be a consideration due to being in the city of Atlanta. I want the Big Ten in the southern part of the United States. The Big Ten wants to be in the southern part of the United States. But they're not looking to try and, as much as possible, they're not trying to get a school in Mississippi and a school in Louisiana. They're not trying to take over the South. Big market schools, Miami, Atlanta, AAU, and these three schools that I've mentioned, they are very they like the combination of Miami and Georgia Tech. There's a lot for them to like there. Research is a scam. That depends. I had medical research save my life at the James Cancer Hospital. I don't think it's a scam.
Yeah.
Doge exposed it. Okay, well, I checked this morning and I wasn't in the obituaries, so I'm still alive, and it's thank you to research conducted not just by Ohio State, but conducted in the Leukemia Research Triangle between Indiana, Purdue, Ohio State, and Michigan as well. I guess it's less of a triangle, more of a weird shape, but you know, it is what it is. The Big Lubbock says weird would be Utah getting a big invite. That is in one of the game theories, but it's not one of the more likely game theories that they discussed. That is in one of the weirder game theories. The Big Lubbock says weird would be Cal going to the Pac-12.
Cal is, they've got other issues, and say the ACC falls apart, they got to go somewhere. They got to park those like 32 sports that they have. Somebody's got to take them.
Joseph Kurlagon Jr. says what would be cool would be SMU in the SEC, so that the SEC has all of the major markets in Texas. Texas and Texas A&M will never allow that to happen. Never.
Why? No. They got the second smallest stadium in the autonomous four. Their SMU. No way.
As far as the SEC is concerned, they have all the major markets in Texas.
Yes.
Damn WCLMAO. Okay. Western Civic remains a legend with an epic crash out on PATC. Remember he used to say some wild, weird shit, man? I'm telling you. some of these game theories that I was being told about are wild, weird shit. Like I said, if you've ever been to a parking lot at a Grateful Dead concert, you'll completely understand it. It's a joke. I know USF ain't going to the Big Ten. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some game. I did not hear USF in any of the game theories that were presented to me.
Probably down at option 42.
I swear Moen loves to piss us off. I promise you I don't. I'm just trying to give you the information I have that was told to me. Tempest, and again, I was also told Miami, Florida State, Clemson, Georgia Tech. So, it is what it is. That's all I can say. But the most likely scenario is Miami, Georgia Tech. I am going to go ahead and kill the X Twitter feed. If you're watching us on Twitter or X, you're going to have to jump over to the YouTube channel at the College Football Mafia, at the CFB Mafia, or just look up CFB Mafia on YouTube. But I want to thank everybody who has joined us on Twitter tonight, and we'll jump right back into it. Maybe we will, if it'll let me do that.
Hopefully.
There we go. Remove. And save changes. Thank you, StreamYard. Sometimes StreamYard lets you do stuff. Mick Stevens says, go Frogs. Big would want Miami till they get there. Well, the other thing that was mentioned to me is that possibly, even though it might be going into a new media deal, some of these new additions would be taking partial shares. And I know that probably wouldn't please them, but they have to look at it as a future investment in themselves. Again, the Big Ten's not looking to just hook up. They want to get somebody who's going to be a good partner for the next 20, 30, 40 years.
And you got to think of it this way. We're talking 2029 with the Big Ten contract. So let's count back. So they're going to start negotiating into 27.
In the 27 time range.
Yeah. So that right there, you're going to end up probably getting a lot of yeses or nos. You'll find out a lot more then, because you're going to want to line that up with the business partners.
Dallas is a major market in Texas, and SMU donors are very rich. I would love to see the look on the faces of Texas if they showed up. Nick Saban would lose his mind if he was still at Alabama. Trust me. I don't think that in the game theory that the SEC has put forth with their strategy sessions, they have SMU in any of the major ones. It would have to be in one of the weird shit happens. Moen just doesn't want to play us. Florida State is 3-0 against Ohio State. Absolutely true. Would have liked to play you this year, though. I am in the past. We wouldn't have gotten Lions. Yeah, maybe not. But I mean, you're in the Big 12 now. You had a good showing last year. At least your defense was really solid. But you guys did need some help on offense. So
now here's the other thing with Lions being LDS. Would other schools say, yeah, we'll wait a year for you to do your mission? Maybe, maybe not. It really just depends. BYU does it all the time. It's like, hey, I'm going to do my 1 or 2 year mission. We'll keep a spot for you. That's the way the school is designed and set up.
Yeah, that's the same thing with Utah and Cam Rising. They let him take his mission trip. The thing is, the fear you got to have, and I completely understand, is he commits to Oregon. Oregon's going to have another 4-star somewhere down the road behind him. What if that 4-star takes off one season? Let's say the starter gets hurt, 4-star goes in, absolutely fabulous. Now you're committed there, Rider Lions. Now they don't have a spot for you. Now you got to decommit and go
or hit the portal.
Which I don't even know how they do that with signing. I don't know if they get some kind of exemption where they can actually sign with the school and then go on their mission and it not count towards.
I maybe Shonsky, he's
yeah, Shonsky, you'll have to let us know, or I'll have to ask Nate on Friday.
Yeah.
Moan is strong, like battery acid. Strong. I like that. Moan is strong. The whiskey would be overflowing with that pair, more than likely. Texas Tech's only option is the SEC if it expands to 24 by 2034, 2042.
Texas Tech will never go into the SEC because they already got Oklahoma, they've got Texas A&M, and they've got horns down. They don't need a fourth team in Texas.
If weird shit happens, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Earl Carr laughs, Utah to the Big Ten. Should have grabbed Boise State over Utah. Wow.
No.
MBM, and it's Utes' anniversary today, man. And
they've
been married 14 years, and you're being real strong with that.
Saw the pictures on Twitter. They're having a blast.
Yeah. Hopefully Ute doesn't watch his show. MBM.
Oh, he will.
But then again, he'll probably ignore it because MBM gave me money to make me drink Mad Dog 2022.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've been told that blue raspberry is nasty stuff. So
there was
not looking forward to it.
Strawberry. The one I had was strawberry, and I'm trying to remember the other one. And this was like 30 years ago whenever I was in high school. And I bet you it hasn't improved since then. It was probably garbage then. Or garbage
I was
now.
told it tastes like a rotten Jolly Rancher.
That's being nice.
That's what I was told the blue raspberry tastes like. So I am not looking forward to it. The U plus Georgia Tech are better than the Big Ten, according to Vox Quindaro. MBM says Georgia Tech, Miami, Stanford, Duke to the Big Ten.
Stanford and Duke have the Ivy League library system, and there's a little clash between the Ivy League system and the Big Ten Academic Alliance.
Yes, they're two different private library systems.
Yeah, and Stanford makes billions off that Ivy League system. I have no clue. Duke probably the same. So it's a stretch on them. I mean, they could probably say yes, and they could probably work a deal out with the Ivy League system and the Big Ten, but I'm really not sure how it all would work out.
I'm sure this is one of the game theories, though, MBM. I'm sure this has been planned out. Steel Austin says even a down Utah is the premier brand of the Big 12. Boy, Utah has done nothing to ingratiate themselves to the Big 12 members. Moen, Miami has never ever had local or international support, so joining the Big Ten is going to change this. Miami is a pro sports city, same as Boston. It's still a major market that TV partners will want in. I understand that you don't see the appeal in the University of Miami going there, but you've got to look at the appeal for Ohio State going to play in Miami. Michigan
30 years ago, they were filling up the Orange Bowl and winning championships.
Right. And this has been, again, I talk about it all the time, bad coaching hires. And they never should have pushed Mark Richt into retirement. For the life of me, I never understood that. He came in and rebuilt that program, and then they pushed him out to get Manny Diaz in there, and he absolutely shit the bed.
I need to ask Rock on this, because whenever they had Donna Shalala as president, she was the one that tried to clean up the athletic department in football, because who was the guy's name? Shapiro. That was during that time, and did the football team no favors.
Donna Shalala, former president at Ohio State, who infamously said, it's like a zoo if We win, they riot, and if we lose, they riot.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it was true. So, Ryan Willie, the evil badger, is gifted five memberships to the College Football Mafia. Let's go ahead and get some. Where is? Man, I can't believe I've lost. There it is. And we'll throw the little whiskey badger up as well. And once again, for Wild You, who loves this sound effect. Rest assured, Ryan, if Wild You retches on the 7-Eleven Big Freaking Friday show, I will be playing that sound. I will link that to his brain in eternity.
That'll be the short that's going to be shown 1,000 times.
Yeah, that'll be a great short. I don't know if we can show puking on YouTube.
We could probably come up with a way to edit it as he's.
Yeah, I'll edit it to where he's throwing up.
Come over, yeah.
I'll edit it to where he's throwing up little badger heads, Ryan. That way it'll.
There you go.
Or Wisconsin W's or something like that. Pit Snipe Husker, Caleb Pratt, Bigfoot Hunter, Phil Venzor, Anthony Carlson were all gifted memberships to the College Football Mafia by our good friend, my Badger brother from another mother, Ryan Willie. Enjoying the weather up in Madison. I think it's raining up there now. We had a little rain here today, but not enough to make it cool. Just enough to make it even more muggy. It's like a sauna out there. Got out of the doctor at 6 o'clock tonight, and it was awful. Mm-hmm. Awful. I had the AC cranked in the car, you know. But thank you for the gifted memberships. As always, Ryan, appreciate your financial support and help promoting the channel. You do awesome work for us. Can't say thank you enough. And now I got to find out where I left off. I forgot where I left off. We'll start here. Great topic. I would like to know what SEC schools would be good for the Big Ten to acquire.
Nobody's leaving the SEC.
Yeah, they're not going to leave the SEC. I mean, if the Big Ten was really going to target SEC schools to take, I can tell you who I think the two would be. I think it would be the University of Florida, and I think it would be Texas or Texas A&M, one of those two. Probably Texas A&M.
Probably A&M, but even then, I don't think. Then again, nobody thought A&M would leave the Big 12 to go to the SEC because they had so many ties to everybody in the conference. So never say never.
And now that I think about it, the University of Florida with the state politics and the one school, it might not be the University of Florida.
No,
it might be.
No.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of who academically could really.
Vandy.
Yeah, Vanderbilt. They're not going to take
Vanderbilt.
Georgia is getting up there.
Georgia. No, Georgia's not AAU.
They're not AAU yet, but they're getting there. But it would be tough. Oklahoma. Tempest brings up Oklahoma. That'd probably be a pretty good one for Oklahoma, especially depending on how this year goes and how the next year goes. Because I think they walked in here optimistically. Former
Texas
UW chancellor. Yeah, Ryan Willie brought up Donna Shalala is a former UW chancellor, not the Ohio State lady.
Okay, yeah,
the Ohio State lady.
Texas is
AAU.
AAU.
Texas A&M is AAU. Vanderbilt's AAU.
Yeah.
Florida is AAU.
Yes.
And
Georgia
I think
is not.
Missouri is AAU.
Oh yeah. Mizzou is, yes. And Mizzou
that's another good option. Mizzou. There's some history there with Missouri and Big Ten expansion. So maybe. Hey, if you add Kansas, you'd have Kansas, Missouri, and Illinois. That's a triangle of hate right there.
I remember when before they picked up Nebraska, Missouri was the school trying to get in. Then they got the SEC invite.
if Arch was as good as being put out, why didn't he take over last year? You saw him play some series for Quinn Ewers. Issue was, and I probably give Steve Sarkisian credit for this, he made a commitment to Quinn. Come back and, from Ohio State. Remember, he went to Ohio State because of the NIL deal in Texas. Was on the Ohio State bench for a year, enrolled in Ohio State for a year. Was actually roommates with Jack Sawyer, who did the strip 6 on him in the quarterfinal game. But I think he made a commitment to the kid, and he wasn't going to take it away from him. So you're absolutely right. He could have been an asshole and said, we're putting Arch in. But I do think he was on a short leash last year. And I think that was shown by the fact that they put Arch Manning in for a couple of series. So MBM, man, cold-blooded, cold as ice. Utah isn't even the flagship of Utah.
Go Weber State.
Ooh. Go Utah State in the Pac-12. The Big Lubbock says Texas Tech will win natties in football, men's basketball, softball, and indoor track next year.
Track, I believe. Softball.
If you believe that, Lubbock, go ahead and put that on a parlay and on a ticket.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you probably get $10 would probably pay you out about $175 million on that bet on a parlay.
Like I said, softball and track, you could probably say yes. Problem with the basketball tournament is you might end up in a second round with a bad matchup and just fall flat. You have to put together 6 perfect games.
Greg the Curse. It's, you hate to say it's true.
We love Greg. We love Greg.
I love Greg as a person, but man, ain't nothing. I tell him, man, go to a casino and just get hired as a cooler. Just go stand next to anybody who's winning, and you would just sap it away from them.
They love him in a sports book.
Texas Tech owns the all-time record and undefeated in football against Utah. I think they would love him in a sports book because they'd change the odds bet on what he picked.
Yeah.
Shonsky says, I know there's some Badgers in Utah, mean SOBs. Few and far between here in Ohio. Few and far between. We had a rescue, found some a couple months ago. I want to say I was going to bring them on the stream, but they unfortunately passed away. The mother was killed by a farmer, and they dug up the hole and found 3 of them, and they didn't make it. But at least they found them, and at least they tried. Greg, speaking of Greg the Curse, Greg the Cold, Greg the cooler of all coolers, this is your Golden Gopher separate themselves from Hawkeyes and Evil Badgers. Minnesota sweeps the Midwest.
The Hawkeyes, they've got a lot of questions. Badgers, they just need to go back and just get like 2 running backs and just run the heck out of the ball.
The thing is, Iowa, you can always depend on Iowa for like 8 wins.
Yeah. The under and straight up win is like easy money.
They're always good. I don't know where I put that, Greg, but here, I'll give you a little. I think he's trying to say that Wisconsin and Minnesota, or Wisconsin or Iowa are.
There's only one word to describe you, and I'm gonna spell it out for you. S-A-W-I-T.
Thank you for the super chat, Greg. I do appreciate it, and I'd appreciate letting me know ahead of time what you're picking, so I don't put it on my parlays.
We do love you, Greg.
Love you, but I don't know what you're doing in Minnesota. I'd be going out to Las Vegas or any of those casinos is just explaining to them that you're a cooler. If you've never seen the movie with William H. Macy, there's a movie with William H. Macy called The Cooler, Greg. Find it. I'm sure it's on Tubi or one of the streaming channels. Definitely watch it. And definitely realize that you could be making some big money. Cal played there in 2016.
Okay. I was trying to remember what year they played in Australia, and I just couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Do you think there's a way to make the SEC conference a national conference like the Big Ten? I'm glad you asked me. We're going to do a live show for members only, building the Super SEC. If you do remember, I did a show a couple weeks back where I built a Super Big Ten, and I will pull this up here so that you can see it. What a 32 team Big Ten would look like. We're going to do something similar for the SEC. We're going to do a build the Super SEC. We might get to 32. We might get to 28. We might get to 24. But we're going to take all the schools that didn't make it here, and we're going to put them up there for the SEC. Does the SEC take Oklahoma State? Maybe. West Virginia?
Sure.
Maybe it's time. Virginia Tech, North Carolina State. There's lots of schools that'll be available for them to take. So we're definitely going to do that as a members-only stream. We're going to let you pick. And then as you're doing it, I will have the art program open, and I will be setting these up. We will set divisions. And then we'll compare them side to side, and we'll see who's got the better conference, the Big Ten or the SEC. Just remember, like we've said in these scenarios, if the Big Ten's at 32, the SEC's at 32 or 24 or 28, there are only two conferences in college football.
Yeah.
And that becomes the national conference. It would be SEC versus Big Ten every year in the playoffs. But we'll do that. We're going to do that. We're going to build the Super SEC. I don't know when yet. I've got to come up with it. I hope to do it this week. It might happen tomorrow. I have to check my availability and how I'm feeling tomorrow. I got to do some work in the morning, and then I got to finish this goddamn chicken coop. I'm working on this chicken coop for like 3.5 weeks. Are you going to get that done? Yeah, eventually. Eventually I have to, you would think. So we'll see. Stay tuned. I'll give you more than an hour's notice this time. I just did that one. Ryan Willie, Wisconsin will run over Minnesota for the Axe. Do I have a running sound? Well, I could give you. I know we did it already, but. Maybe this is what Greg will be saying as that's happening, right?
Oh!
Is that game in Wisconsin or Minnesota?
I think it's in Madison this year, right?
I can't remember.
I think it's in Madison. Then
Ryan Willie will.
Yeah,
correct
Ryan
us.
will let us know. And after that happens, Ryan, then you'll be saying this.
You want a cheeseburger? Come on, everybody got a cheeseburger. Want a cheeseburger? Come on, cheeseburger.
I don't want a cheeseburger. It's too early for a cheeseburger.
Too early for a cheeseburger? Look! Cheeseburger.
Not fries, chips.
No Coke, Pepsi. Just want some eggs. Come on. Aussies like football. They just think it's soft playing with pads. They do. And the Big Ten believes it's a burgeoning market and a good spot for Ryan says they're playing in Minnesota this year.
Okay.
So the Big Ten and at least one of the private equity firms has really sold them on Australia. So I don't know what the demographics are. I don't know what they see there. I do know there's a lot of Australian punters. We get a lot of Australian punters in the Big Ten. Iowa will tell you about that. I'm sure Iowa will want a game in Iowa will want that game in Australia. They'll say, yeah, we'll play a conference game in Australia. You can give us the home game so we can take a look at all these punters. Recruit 3 5-star punters. Rugby is no joke.
Oh, it's not.
It's also awesome.
Yeah.
I've watched it a couple times on ESPN, but it's one of those things that I just can't. I don't know. But it's like soccer for me, man. I don't get soccer. I don't get it. Like,
Well,
I'll watch it if it's a national team, like America is playing in the World Cup against, or American women are actually competing for the championship, then I will watch it. But
they beat the heck out of each other in rugby. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. I've been to a Columbus Crew game.
No, soccer is not on par with rugby. Rugby's just fun to watch.
It's not on par with American football. I mean,
yeah.
Golly, I mean, at least hockey and soccer are similar, but in hockey, I mean, at least you're getting people checked and there's good stuff to watch. I mean, there's some action. Soccer, it's kick to here, kick to there, kicks it back to here, kicks it to there.
Simpsons had a skit on that at one time.
Right. Yeah. And then they all decided to riot after 5 minutes. Tech maxed out on money getting football players here. What does Utah have to walk on? And scholarship players. I'm just junk talking. It's okay to talk a little smack. We can talk smack all the way before the beginning of the season. But after you get your ass whipped, you got to get humbled a little bit.
Yeah.
I was humbled a little bit last year after Oregon beat Ohio State. I was pissed off after Michigan did. But then I felt good when they got it back against Oregon. The simple truth here is that whichever conference gets some combination of Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and there might be 3 conferences that get some combination of Florida State, Clemson, and Miami. James Davis says Utah to the ACC. John Dry says the leftover ACC. The simple truth of the matter is whichever conference gets some combination of Florida State, Clemson, Miami wins, and whichever conference doesn't loses. The end?
Well, it might be a split up because
I said that combination could go to 3 different conferences.
Yes. And I'm a Mountaineer, and it's Big 12's just playing for 3rd place. That's it. They're just looking at, we know we're not going to get SEC money. They know they're not going to get Big 10 money. Where in that between what those 2 guys make and the next level down, how do they slot in that area? Right now, they're making about half of what a Big 10 and SEC makes.
Caleb Ramirez says, can you get into do weirder theory at all tonight? I just did, Caleb, and I would appreciate it if you would all smash the like button. Smash it. MBM, Utah, back to the Mountain West. Home sweet home. Tempest says Cal would go Mountain West. I have to think Cal would swallow their pride and go to the Pac if they were somehow left out.
Or maybe Big 12, because that would put another Western team in the conference. That could be another after dark time slot game. It is a big market here, so I mean, Bay Area market.
Play a game in Germany. They love singing Country Road.
Yes, they do.
That's true. Okay, well, West Virginia. Maybe with your private equity company can.
There was a rumor, probably, I want to say like 6 years ago, that there was talk about WVU doing a week 0 game in Germany, and nothing came of it. Absolutely nothing.
MBM says, I've never seen Grateful Dead. I have tripped over hippies at a Primus concert.
Oh, those are fun. Yeah, those are fun. I've seen Primus.
I think that's a story I can't tell. I've never seen the Grateful Dead either, but I've been to plenty of Grateful Dead parking lots. But I don't think that's a story I can tell. But we'll do that on a members only episode.
Let's put it this way: Fish took over like what the Grateful Dead vibe.
Yeah. Let's put it this way: there is not a cold beer in the cooler, guys. It's not cold beer. And you wave them down and let them stick their head in your car, and it works. I haven't seen Immaculate in a good minute. He's on Twitter all the time, at Immaculate View on Twitter. You can follow him there. I don't know that he does any media anymore. So you would have to follow him on there. Moan, is there a chance the Big takes 3 to go to 21 just to stay ahead of the SEC? I can see them taking Notre Dame, Miami, Georgia Tech, or Stanford. Notre Dame is always going to have a slot. As much as I talked today about Georgia Tech and Miami being the current favorites, if Notre Dame came in after that and said, okay, we want to be 21, the Big Ten would just let them be 21. And yes, they would probably get a say on who would be number 22 because you would have to even it up. You would probably get one. Stanford, I don't know. There's schools in the Big Ten that wanted Stanford. Stanford didn't want the Big Ten, or it didn't want to be in the Big Ten and adhere to the Big Ten's rules. So
it was all about the Ivy League library system.
Right. So I don't know that Notre Dame would bring Stanford. Maybe Notre Dame brings Duke. Duke has been pushing very, very hard to get noticed. They're also a member of that IPLC. If they're pushing, they know they have to know that they have to leave that and join the Big Ten Academic Alliance, the Big Ten Cancer Research Consortium. I'm sure a school like Wisconsin and Washington would love a Duke. Michigan would love Duke. UCLA would love Duke. But I don't think that there's enough support for Duke. But if Notre Dame says, bring them along, they probably get in. I don't think the bigger SEC wants to expand. They do, Shonsky. They just don't want to expand right now.
Here's the thing. The SEC, both of them can take their time and figure out what advantages each school has. Because they're already making the big money. They don't have to worry about, hey, what's UNC making right now? We need to move. We need more money. They've already got it. They've already got the money.
Fergie says, Sco Buffs, it feels like the Big 12 is sticking together and not a cluster like the ACC, that the good candidates are not lobbying for themselves. Well,
they're probably still picking up phones.
Yeah, shit can always get weird. After a 2-10 season, Moen, anyone but Cal wanted to play us. And Cal almost beat Miami. People will argue that Cal should have beat Miami, but
that there were a couple of bad calls. Yeah.
C. John says lacrosse has a notable following in Aussie land. U.S. football would be fairly popular there too, no doubt. But U.S. football has a roof down under. Aussie rules football, rugby, soccer, cricket will always be number 1 to number 4. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Your local sports are going to still be your local sports. But I know there's stadiums down there that hold sizable numbers of people.
Melbourne Cricket Ground sits 100,000. Yeah.
So, I mean, the Big Ten would love to have a Big Ten conference game there with 100,000 crazy Australians screaming. Again, I don't think you're not going to get like an Ohio State, Michigan. You're probably not going to get an Ohio State there. But you probably will get like a Wisconsin, Iowa game there, maybe. Maybe. Because I don't think you can do a big noon game in Australia. That's the only reason I don't think they'll get Ohio State.
I'm trying to think the time difference off the top of my I want to say for Eastern time zone it's 15 hours. So
there'd be 2 a.m. What? 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. MBM says, I never see LDS football players out and about, always little skinny dudes. Football players probably get those primo missions, you know. They get to go to like Orlando. It's not like the Book of Mormon musical. Rambling Ryan says Notre Dame allows Mormon missions. Good to know.
Okay.
Tempest says, woo, Boise State, Statue of Liberty play. James Davis says, so I picked the right one for you two to drink. I don't think there is a right one among Mad Dog 2020. I don't. But I've heard that the blue raspberry is particularly rancid of the flavors. Like I said, it was compared to a rotten Jolly Rancher. And I think Jolly Ranchers are immortal, so I don't know what a rotten one tastes like. Blue raspberry is blue flavor. That's it.
Yeah.
I thought Duke said they would leave Ivy League system no issues. The amount of money that they've put forth and relationships they've tried to build MBM in the Big Ten, I'm pretty sure they would. I'm pretty sure they would.
That's billions of dollars that they make off that Ivy League library system. I don't know what the Big Ten Academic Alliance pays or how much money they make off. It's a lot of money, but I don't know if it's Ivy League money.
No. Duke does massive medical research.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Schools like Washington, Wisconsin, Michigan, UCLA, schools with these big Ohio State's getting there too. Big medical research consortiums. There's actually a Big Ten cancer research consortium among all the schools that have medical centers. They would love to have Duke, but Justin R says 8 p.m. in Australia is 6 a.m. Eastern.
Okay.
So you could go with Big Ten morning kickoffs as a lead into big noon kickoff. Okay. There we go. I'm not getting up at 6 o'clock to watch that game though. not after Friday night. You get that market for any of the Florida schools because they are all over the state.
Yeah.
Rambling Ryan says Miami isn't Big Ten material in my opinion. Florida State makes more sense if they can stop sucking for a season or two. Again, it's not all about the football. There's other things at work too, other factors. MBM says I've got a crisp $100 super chat if Danny Boy wants to join the MD party.
You don't even have to pay me. I'll hunt some down. I'll join it, but I probably haven't touched it. I know it hasn't been since high school, and that stuff was god awful then, and probably hasn't improved over the years. I'll join in. I don't care.
It's gotten weaker. No, he's going to have to drop that $100 super chat for you, Dan.
Okay, yeah, drop it.
Now you've got to procure your own.
I could do it. There's enough bum wine places around here. I can find it.
All right, get it at any gas station around here in Ohio.
Yeah.
So MBM, if you want to send the $100 super chat, Dan will join in on the 7-Eleven Big Freaking Friday show with you and myself to drink Mad Dog 2020 Blue Raspberry. Nate will not be drinking with us, obviously, for religious reasons. But if you want to do it, MBM, I can't stop you from doing it. Now, just keep in mind, YouTube's got their 30% cut that goes to them first, Danny. So
yeah.
But yes, yeah. MBM wants a third wheel for the MD 2020 super chat.
Can I follow it up with? Can I follow it up with a bottle of Markham Merlot?
Boone's Farm. MBM. Here's the thing. Now you've got me, you've got Danny, you've got you drinking MD 2020 Blue Raspberry. Can you get Greg Flugar to join us? Can you get the Flugs to join us? I don't
James
know.
Davis, it looks like windshield washer fluid and it tastes like it too.
I heard Rotten Jolly Rancher. MBM, thank you for the support, dude. Danny, when we get our payout from YouTube this month, we'll send you over the money. Let me see here if I've got a little Okie State stuff to run. Let's do the Cartman Wild Wild West one first.
Well, I'm a badass cowboy living in the cowboy days. Wicky, wicky, scratch, yo, yo, bang, bang. Me and Artemis, large frog, go, save, stem, a high act from the big metal spiders. A wicky, 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 fresh cowboy from the west side.
And you know, Daniel is a West Virginia man. He's a Boone County man.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to play this for him.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
You'll feel like you're back at home once you get a first swallow of that Mad Dog 2020. God, I am not looking forward to this. I mean, when the girl at the gas station told me it tasted like a rotten Jolly Rancher, I was like, oh man. Like I would almost rather have grape. I would, because at least with the grape, I know what I'm getting. I've drank enough of the grape where I know if I can get past the first swallow is always the roughest. But if you can get past that on the grape, it starts to go down easier. But thank you again, MBM. Now we've got 3 people. The 7-Eleven jam is now 3 people. Yep. We'll have to see if we can get more. Everybody join in with us on that night. I want at least some people in the chat buying MD 2020 Blue Raspberry. MD 2020 stock is just going through the roof. With all the promotion we're doing for MD 2020. I don't think we can take alcohol sponsorships on here, or I would definitely be contacting MD 2020, but I don't think that they would appreciate all the shit talking we've done about Mad Dog 2020 either. I mean, look,
stuff was awful.
it's awful, but you know, it has its place. We're talking about Miami's just not that great just based on football, but there's other things that matter. There's other things that matter, and God, it's awful. It will get you drunk. It will get you drunk. That's what I can tell you.
Like I said, can I follow it up with Mark and Merlot or
I don't care what I don't care what you use as a chaser.
Or...
I'm not using a chaser. I'm just trying to get it down. Somebody wants me to try and chug it. I might try a super chat to chug it. I might be able to do it. Because see, I think if I got to taste it first. I got to get a taste. See if I can chug it. But I think I could chug it. I think I can get it done. I think I can. We'll see on 7-Eleven. You tune in. We're pre-promoting the hell out of this now. Tune in on 7-Eleven. I can't get a deal with 7-Eleven. I don't have any 7-Elevens around me, James Davis. Used to have a 7-Eleven. It's now a United Dairies farmer. Or last I knew it was a United Dairy farmer.
There's one not too far from me, but there's like a bum wine place that's I'll probably hit up and try to see if I can find it in there.
When I went, I think she said it's like $6 plus tax.
Yeah.
For a bottle now. And I was like, Jesus, talk about inflation. The price went up and the strength went down.
Yeah.
I was talking to Rock about it on Sunday. I was like, I don't know if meth took a bigger cut of the market or what, but Mogan David's ripping bums off now.
You can get vodka cheaper.
Free trips to Australia. That's what they're looking for. Absolutely. Absolutely. Polynesian kids in Australia. I mean, look, there could be a talent pipeline there in Australia beyond punters.
Who is that? St. Mary's College. They always have like 2 or 3 Australians on their basketball roster.
Sure. Basketball is an international one. Yep. They think basketball will be big too.
Yes.
As far as sports you can show outside of America. But soccer, obviously, men's and women's soccer should be pretty good sports for the Europeans of the world and Australia as well. Baseball. Japan's a big baseball.
They always start the season. MLB plays like 2 or 3 games in 2 or 3 series in Japan. They've been going to Korea too.
Yeah, Korea does baseball too. South Korea has a pretty big baseball. So I mean, maybe that. James Davis says, just don't ask Florida State to play out of the country ever again. Their problem was a lot bigger than playing out of the country.
Yeah.
And then you will say it was the weather or a penalty or something else. OSU never gets beat. If it is, it is. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, bad calls, bad calls. There ain't no way Texas Tech will lose to Utah. I think Utah lost to Houston last year. Mo and Nathan and I did record a sit down this morning about public-private partnerships, i.e. Kentucky. That will come out soon. Great show, Fergie. Okay, but I need to confirm with him whether he's doing a show tomorrow night or not with the consiglieres. If not, and I feel up to it, we might build the Super SEC as our members-only stream for the month of June. Texas Tech should play in Monterey. I think they like tortillas.
There was talk with the Big 12 playing games in Mexico, and I don't know what happened with that. They had I know they had Texas Tech lined up to do it, and it just died. It was supposed to be done this year and next year, 2025 and 2026, but I don't know. I don't know exactly what happened.
Right. You would think the Pac-12 and the Big 12 would be both looking to get into the Mexico market. I mean,
yeah,
the Arizona schools, San Diego
Yes.
State, Texas Tech. 1 milligram of epinephrine. We didn't fill out the Orange Bowl when Miami was winning championships. And we didn't push Rick out. He was sick. Okay. Okay. And then Rock says, I'm just jumping in, but if somebody says that Mark Rick was pushed out, you're absolutely not clued in. Okay. Had nothing to do with getting Manny Diaz in there. Dave's here. There isn't but scraps left besides Notre Dame. There's some value left out there on the table.
Yeah. It's just how you get that value marketed.
Bobby Madden. Good to see you, Bobby. With 22 teams, you can protect up to 3 annual rivals and play everyone else head-to-head in 6 years while maintaining 9 conference games, which is why I think the Big and SEC could end up at 22 teams each. One problem there, though. One problem there. That would involve the SEC playing 9 conference games.
Exactly.
And we know how the SEC feels about 9 conference games.
There's only one word to describe you, and I'm gonna spell it out for you. S-A-W-F-T.
SEC coaches unanimously voted to stay at 8 conference games, unanimously voted to not have a Big Ten challenge.
Of course.
Soft. They are soft. They are Charmin soft. They are Snuggle Bear soft.
They got to keep that Citadel and Mercer game.
Opie says it's 12:10 p.m.
Okay.
in Sydney now. Ryan says shit will get weird on 7-Eleven. Absolutely right, Ryan. Shit will get weird. It will get wild. Tune in Friday, July 11th. 3 people so far are going to be on camera drinking MD 2020 Blue Raspberry. Will more people join us? I don't know. If you're in the chat and you want to sympathize with us, by all means, go pick up your bottle of MD 2020 Blue Raspberry today and call it out in the chat if you're drinking with us. We'll see. Maybe we can break a Guinness Book of World Records of the largest gathering of people drinking MD 2020 Blue Raspberry.
That's called high schools.
Didn't have blue when I was in high school.
They have this red one that was awful.
Well, that was in the running too. There was one called Dragon Fruit, and I don't know what Dragon Fruit is. And I'm afraid to find out what Mogan David thinks Dragon Fruit is. Tempest says, Cartman, respect my authority. Yes, MBM is a big Cartman guy. He likes when Cartman says that. He likes when Cartman says
Sweet.
and he also likes when Cartman says this.
I don't make the rules, ma'am. I just think them up and write them down.
Would Rock join in? You would have to ask Rock. I don't know. He works West Coast, so I don't know what time he gets home on Fridays. Ask him on Sunday. We'll be doing a show this Sunday, Ryan. I would ask Rock on Sunday if you want to throw down for him to join us. He lives in Los Angeles. I know he can find it. MBM says, I am joining in. I would just have to get a homeless person to buy it for me. I explained at the gas station. I went into a lengthy discussion and explained to them that I was not buying this for enjoyment or taste.
And I bet you they were like, sure.
And I hope that girl is working when I pick it up because it was on Sunday and I couldn't get it because of the Sunday liquor sales. So I hope she's working because I don't really want to have to explain the story again. But I completely understand why you would want a bum to pick it up for you and not be seen buying MD 2020. Shonsky says, are you promoting buying it from a 7-Eleven? Get it where you can get it, guys. Rock and Rant, apparently he's already answered your question, Ryan. You are all insane. Might as well just drink Robitussin.
Yeah, probably would. Yeah.
Do not drink Robitussin.
He's accurate.
Do not Robo-trip. This is a man-sized challenge. Absolutely. It's going to be hard time. Here we go.
But the cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah. Macho madness, yeah.
Let's hope it's just the cream and not anything else. BYU football, Shonsky says, beer bong that shit. If I can get past the first taste, I may be able to chug it. I don't know. I'm a grizzled veteran, though. You have to understand. I've probably drank MD 2020, if not 50 times, not once.
I haven't drank it in 30 years.
I'm just telling you, man, when I was in college, I smoked cigarettes, and I could get 2 packs of cigarettes and 2 bottles of MD 2020 for under $10.
Yep.
And that was my weekend. That was my weekend. Show up to the party, everybody's drinking rum, and I just got my Mad Dog 2020. I just drink this. Then you'd always get people say, I don't know how you could drink that shit. Because it gets you drunk and it's cheap. That's how I drink that shit.
We used to, with military paydays, you always got paid 1st and 15th. So, like on the 12th and 13th, almost into the 14th, it depends on when the money hit your account. But on like the 12th and 13th, and right at the end of the month, we used to pick up 40s of Steel Reserve or 8-Ball and get 2 of them for, it was $2. I think it was $2.25 with tax. There you go.
I have to look for the photo. I may have a college age Moen drinking MD 2020, but I will have to look through the photo. And by the way, Moen's not bald. Moen has long hair. Hey, look, it was the late 90s, man. Grunge. I was a grunge kid, so it is what it is. Well, the SEC might not have a choice. Let's see here. Who else? Tempest says, sure, I'm drinking with you, but it's with my scotch.
That'll work. It's a lot better than what we'll be drinking.
Timothy Green says, to the guys that are going to drink to Mad Dog 2020, I suggest plenty of Finnegan. Add Motrin 800s. That'll help you out the next day. And God bless you, folks. Like I said, I wouldn't do it for 10,000. I think Finnegan is still by prescription only.
I don't know.
And I think they only really prescribe it to pregnant women. So if any of us can pull it off, I mean, I got a lot of wigs. Maybe I can waddle into the emergency room and see if they'll give me some Finnegan.
Oh.
This is for Rock. Ryan, I don't know that Rock's guaranteed to drink it.
No.
You'll have to clear that with Rock. I don't know that he's going to do it, brother. But if he doesn't, we'll figure out a way to get that. Ryan has chosen for Rock.
It depends on what time he gets home. A lot of it is, yeah.
If not Rock, we'll try and figure out something for you, Ryan. If Rock says no, or I might have Ryan. If Rock wants to do it on a Sunday night show, we might have him do it on a Sunday night show. I just don't know what time Rock gets home on Fridays. He lives and works in the greater Los Angeles area, and I know he battles traffic every day. So, something you'll definitely have to check with. I'll have to check with Rock on, but we'll figure something out for you, Ryan. Thank you for the super chat. You're a wild man.
Yep, probably gonna die. I knew, man. I knew I'd never make it to 30 because I'm a wild man. Because I party.
That's definitely a guy who drinks some MD 2020, as well as, let me see if we've got one here from Run Ronnie Run. Movies. There we go. From Run.
That's all right, man. Guess what? I was a little bit wasted my own self. You know? Okay.
Man, you two are regular old Three Musketeers.
Yeah, we are. Touche.
Absolutely hilarious movie if you've never seen it. It's called Run Ronnie Run. Was only released on DVD and only like 10 years after it was made. So definitely check it out if you're out there. It's a Mr. Show. If you've seen the show Mr. Show on HBO Max with Bob Odenkirk and David Cross, it is a spin-off of that. So definitely check that out. But I'm sure Ronnie, every time Ronnie got arrested, he was drinking that MD 2020. And I'll give you, again, a badger sound. Will these bills be pouring down like vomit? Lazy college Friday night. The world may never know. If they don't tune in for the 7-Eleven show.
That might be our most watched show ever. Just hope.
There's going to be a lot of people tuning in, I think.
Yeah.
And again, if you guys want to join in with us, Blue Raspberry MD 2020, you can get it at pretty much any gas station. MD 2020 isn't even 20% ABV anymore, only 13 to 18%. I saw the bottle said 13.7,
yeah.
I think. I don't know if they make 18%. I would drink 18%. John Dry is Rock from Florida. He went to Miami, but he currently lives in the greater Los Angeles area.
Yeah.
But we'll talk to him on Sunday. Ryan, you be there on Sunday, man. We'll talk to him about it. And if not, we'll figure something out. We can either give it to a charity or we can find a designated drinker, I guess. I don't know who that's going to be.
Maybe we'll call up Becky and see if she'll do it. Well, no, because Becky's here on the West Coast. She's not. She wouldn't be home in time.
She might. I
True.
think we could probably get, well, here's the thing. We could probably get Becky to do it. The problem is if there's any electric scooters outside, she might steal it. So we have to make sure that she's securely in her apartment and there are no scooters nearby. Becky has a history of maybe getting a little intoxicated and, Morgan Wallen concert on Sunday. Well, we'll figure it out without you. Just watch it on demand, Ryan, and we'll figure something out. Blue raspberry. What color to paint your toilet? I might revisit the grape. It's been too long. It might be, hey, you may have already paid to paint my toilet and the surrounding tile.
Yeah.
And the backsplash and the bathtub. And possibly my computer monitor and my tablet and my soundboard and my keyboard. Timothy Green says I'll stick to my black raspberry moonshine. There you go, sir.
Here's something. Timothy Green worked with my uncles, their coal mines there in Boone County, West Virginia. My uncle Terry had a supplier for moonshine somewhere, and he could get it really easy. And the stuff he had was pretty decent.
Yeah, I like apple pie moonshine. So, but again, I just want to reiterate this. If anybody's joining us late, we're not doing this for pleasure. There is no pleasure. It's not for taste. It is to fulfill a contractual obligation we have with our audience.
Yeah.
For people.
Like I said, can I swap that out for like Mitch Constantino with his cigars in, or can I swap it out for BV Rutherford with their Merlot, or I know like a ton of wine places because they're like not that far from here.
I would say we could be flexible and let you get some Thunderbird.
I don't think they make it anymore.
They do make Thunderbird, but it's not the
they
original formula. Apparently,
Okay.
Apparently, it's a lot better now. Take that for what it's worth.
So instead of absolute garbage, it's just garbage?
Yeah, I think so. They kind of improved the flavor. So looking at the MD 2020 website, they have an MD 2020 spiked black raspberry that is 20%.
Okay.
Okay.
It just depends on where you can find it at.
Yeah, blue raspberry seems to be pretty across the board. I didn't see any spiked blackberry there at the gas station. Just don't get a YouTube strike for the 11th. They are really cracking down. Yeah, we'll make sure that all our bases are covered. I don't think we haven't got a strike yet with all my antics of chugging, drinking this.
I'm drinking Gatorade.
So, and it'll be marked as an 18 only stream, so we won't have any little kids coming in here and asking about that funny Kool-Aid we're drinking. Doing the techno-colored yawn.
Yeah, probably happened.
Note to self, let's get CFB Mafia to 10,000 subs. I'm telling you, Jackson, I'm telling you, we're going to have some highlights from 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
It's going to be a heavy highlight show. It will be. I don't know if you're of age, Jackson, but if you would like to join us, let me know. We can get you on that big freaking Friday panel. Drinking a blue raspberry MD 2020. It's like putting a couple shots of Everclear in 20-ounce bottle of blue raspberry Kool-Aid. I was told it's not, because I asked if it was like blue raspberry Kool-Aid, and I was told Rotten Jolly Rancher.
I haven't drank in quite a long time, a couple years. So this is going to be an adventure.
It will be an adventure. It definitely 100% will be. Absolutely. Definitely want to tune in for 7-Eleven, but let's kind of go over what we talked about here tonight, guys. Tony Petitti has wargamed. The Big Ten has wargamed out possibilities for expansion candidates.
You know, that looks like Steve Carell.
Well, Steve Carell could play Tony Petitti in a movie.
Yeah.
If they need to make a Tony Petitti movie for some reason. He is wargaming. Greg Sankey is wargaming. They have a bunch of options for expansion candidates. Current leading favorite, current most likely situation for the Big Ten involves the University of Miami joining at 19, Georgia Tech joining at 20. Things are still up in the air. Things can change, guys. North Carolina could decide to join the Big Ten, and that could completely change things up. Notre Dame could decide to join the Big Ten. That could change things up. Clemson could decide to join the SEC, and that could change things up. Notre Dame can join anybody, and that would change things up. And as always, shit can get weird, guys. Shit can get weird. Before Daniel and I leave for the night, I want to thank you for joining me tonight, Daniel. As is tradition, found this in our archive. Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey having a little chess game when it comes to realignment. Moving the pieces. Who's going where? Developing the night. Tony Petitti's trying to develop the night. And Tarleton reminds you, pleasure you can depend on with Tarleton cigarettes.
There you go.
In Central Park with Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey. As a reminder, as always, these are parody ads, guys. Tarleton cigarettes do not exist. And you can't do print cigarette advertisements anymore anyway. So just so YouTube doesn't think I'm lying, it's fake.
And Tarleton State, with if certain things move around, they might move up to FBS.
Absolutely.
They'll have more money to spend on advertisement.
Absolutely true. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I want to thank Daniel Gygax for helping me out tonight and providing another person to bounce stuff off of. I want to thank everybody who came in here tonight. I want to thank everybody who donated tonight. Earl Carr, Caleb Ramirez, Earl Carr, Ryan Willie with the big spender tonight. I appreciate you, Ryan. You were the MVP tonight, dude. Greg Flugar, the cooler. He came in here and dropped a cool $10, so we appreciate that. And then MBM, the Okie State, has laid one out for Daniel Gygax. Daniel will be joining us on the 7-Eleven stream. MD 2020, Blue Raspberry.
Oh
my God, what have we done?
What have you got yourself into? What went wrong in life that I'm drinking Mad Dog again?
It's like Jurassic Park. It's what do they say? You were so worried about whether or not you could, you didn't think about whether or not you should.
Yeah.
So good night, everybody. Keep an eye on the Twitter account tomorrow. If I end up doing Build the Super SEC members only stream, I will get that up early in the afternoon, just so you know. And Fergie says that him and Nate recorded their PPP thing today, and that'll be going up soon. So we will talk to you guys soon. Until then, if we don't see you till Friday, have a safe Thursday, and we'll see you on Friday. But again, keep an eye on the Twitter. And thank you, everybody who came by, and thank you, everybody who donated. Peace out.